So glad to have you on my channel. I am Nikki of Nikki Hearts Cards, and I'm here today participating in the Altenew Educators watercolor hop. We're hopping from video to video, and so make sure that you check the description to be able to see all those videos. There is a giveaway today, so 7 gift cards are being given away to people who are leaving comments, liking, and subscribing. So make sure you do all those things on the channels to increase your chance of winning that gift card to Altenew. So let's get right into this video. Here's what we're making. So I love playing with watercolor. It's just so forgiving, which I know when I first started, I didn't think that, but I'm gonna show you how easy this is. We're gonna use the Altenew statement flowers, which take up an entire card. They are basically an A2 size. I'm going to heat emboss this with white embossing powder. Before you do that, especially on watercolor paper, and I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper, you need to make sure you're very generous with your powder. I also usually stamp my image 2 to 3 times, because if you think of this watercolor paper as absorbing, it's going to absorb the ink some. So I usually do a couple of stamps of this just to make sure I get a good embossed image. Now, white embossing powder on this off-white to white cardstock here that I'm using as my watercolor paper is very hard to see. So when you're doing this, you need to make sure you're looking for little stray pieces, because when you color all of this in, you will see any of those extra flecks. I did a really good job with the powder tool, so I'm not having a whole lot extra, but I am going to examine this very closely and make sure I don't leave any embossing powder that's kind of like stray little pieces, because I don't want those to show up in my watercolor. So here's how that looks up close, and I'm not seeing any stray pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and heat it. Now, with heating it, you can warp your paper, so be careful with your heat, but I don't worry about it quite as much on watercolor paper because the water warps the paper as well. So I try to keep it as flat as possible, but I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that help me flatten out my watercolor paper at the end to make it look more smooth. So I'm going to show you a few different ways so you can see the difference in how this looks with using more water, less water, fixing mistakes, all of that. I'm going to start out the top by adding just a little bit of water to the area that I am going to color in. For my color this time, I'm going to use watercolor markers. You can use all kinds of things. You could use any type of watercolor to do this. I just like the fact that I can use them like a pen and create the lines that I'm going to. So this first part, I'm using my pen over an area that already has water on it. So I still need to blend it out, but you can get a lighter color like this. And so I'm playing around with making it a lighter watercolor, and then I realized later on in the video that I really like it very dark. So I'm kind of going along. Now you could also use a ruler, some pencil marks, whatever you want to make these lines. I do get off on my lines a little bit, but I go back to my watercolor and just fix it easily with adding some water and adding some more color. So if you want to be absolutely perfect on these lines, you could draw them with pencil, or you could hold a ruler and use this pen along the ruler so you've got kind of a starting line that is exact. And I like to hold, when I'm doing stripes, I want to pull the stripes down towards me. I feel like I can see, I guess, the levelness of them better if I'm doing that. So that's why I have my flower turned sideways, even though when I put it on the card, I'm going to have this pink petal facing up. So now that I've got this started, I need to make my next line, which is going to be, I'm going to skip in between lines. So I know that seems weird, but I'm going to do every other one, and that's so that they don't blend together too much. I kind of like the striped look, so I'm going to skip down and do the yellow color. So I'm creating a section of water that is going to be the yellow. So this is going to be a typical rainbow. So this is the 3rd color in my rainbow. And then I'm taking my pen directly to paper and making that bottom line and pulling my paint up. So I'm trying to make the bottom parts of my line darker, and you'll see that I realize that I just really want this darker. So I'm going to bring the actual pen here to the paper to get a little bit more of a line, and that helps me blend. It also just gives more color to the paper. If you want yours very light, you can do what I was doing, which is the pen tip to the end of the water brush. And you can use any type of water brush. I just like these Altenew ones because I can press the water down and add more water when I need it. But it works with any type of water brush. Now I left no water right here in the middle where this orange is going. So I'm going to start laying down some water and color and just being careful. I want it to blend into the other ones, but I do want to keep a definite line between the orange and the yellow. So I'm going to take my brush or my pen back in and add to that line just to get it a darker color. Later on, after this is dried some, you can always go back in and add more color. And that's what I end up doing to get these super bright stripes. To all the beginner watercolors out there, this is super forgiving. You can always add more water and use a paper towel and absorb your mistakes. Very easy. Make sure you give it a try. Once again, skipping a section, but this time I'm not going to add any water. I'm just going to use my pen and go across because I'm really liking the brighter colors. So I'm going to go across and lay down this line, and then I'm going to come back with my little water brush and spread it out. And that is what I start doing for the rest of the piece, because I realize I really do want some super bright colors here. I just think that I love bright rainbow colors. They just make me happy. Make sure that you stay tuned to the end of the video if you want to see some funny outtakes. I have started adding these to my videos because they crack me up so much. So if you want to see them, make sure you watch till after the end credits. This is still lighter than I want, so you can always take your pen and go back in and touch this area, and it will just pull some more color into your project. So you've got lots of options. I could have kept it super pale, but I just really love those bold colors. So I'm going to speed through some more things, and then I'm going to show you how I went back into the final project and added more color. Okay, so quick recap. I skip every other and I do my lines and blend them in. And I'm doing this all, like I said, just by feel and how I think the stripes should go. That you can do a ruler if that makes you feel better. But I just wanted you to know you have this option. So let's go back in. I'm going to go ahead to where this is dry and finished, and I'm going to add more color to it. So let's start fixing our mistakes. So I grabbed a T-ruler and I'm going along this, and you see that I didn't quite get my line straight here with the pink. So I'm taking some pink on my brush and I'm pulling it back in. I just put it on my silicone mat and I'm pulling the pink right through here just to make this a more even line. I could do this with every single line that I made. I could restart and do a ruler, but I just wanted you to know I'm not perfect and I sometimes come up with things on the fly. So here's what we did. I decided to fix this just to make it look a little straighter, because I felt like the one place that it really wasn't straight at all was the top where I started. So I'm just fixing that with some pink, and then I'm going to go back in and add some more color to other layers. So I did also fix this orange layer. You can see I'm a little off on it too, but with it, I've just fixed the pink. So I've got to be careful about running into that area, and I really need to cover up the pink. I'm going to pop up an arrow where I'm going to try to cover the pink up with a little bit more orange. Start by coloring on my mat and adding some water. I do get this too wet, so like I said with watercolor, you can erase anything with a paper towel. So I'm adding extra water here, partly just to try to absorb some of that pink pigment, and then I will cover it up again with orange. So I'm just adding a lot of water to that area, and then I'm going to bring a paper towel in and absorb some of that ink, and it acts like an eraser. Then I can bring more ink in and cover up the pink color there and make it look completely orange. So I'm going to bring in a little bit more color and work on that. I do take this ruler along each of these lines and just make sure they're generally even. I did go ahead and add a little bit more to this orange because I felt like it and its top pink level there were the two that were just kind of off. So just fix that a little bit, and then I'm going to bring my markers in and add more color to different areas. Since I'd made the orange and the pink darker up top, I go into my orange and pink layers and just add a little extra color just so they all kind of match each other. And here's how it looks. So you could cut this out and put it on some dark cardstock, but I decided to play around with my watercolor set. This is the Rock collection, which is basically a gray color. I taped this down with some painter's tape to my mat to help with warping because I'm going to color the entire background in this gray. So I leave this pretty light all around, except I'm trying to create a shadow for this so that it looks somewhat 3D. So you will see me add more where the leaves should have a shadow. So I'm pretending like my light is hitting from the top, and I'm just adding more color into those little areas to make it look like it's lifting up off the page. This is something that gives it a great effect in person. It's a little bit hard to get it in photos so that you can see how cool it looks, but it's a really fun way to do a 1-layer card so that it's easier to mail if that's a problem where you are. Sometimes it's just nice to have a flat, easy, mailable card. As I finish this up, adding a little shadows, just know that I did add a die cut of the word thanks, and I used a holographic paper. So when you look at that photo, check out that holographic paper. It's pretty fun. I will include all the links in the description, and of course, make sure you stick around for the outtakes and check out some other videos on the Video Hop. You do need to comment, like, and subscribe to be entered in that drawing. Have a great day, guys. Bye.